Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well today. I know that the London Chess Classic is currently going on, but today I've decided to shift the attention to the Asian Championships in Manila. So after 3 rounds of play, one of the leaders of the tournament is the Malaysian Fide master Zang. He had impressive back-to-back victories with the black pieces against 2 grandmasters. And in the 3rd round, he accepted a draw against Vidit Gujrathi despite having a slightly better position. So this game is from the 1st round of the tournament, where Lai had the black pieces against the Iranian grandmaster Ghaem Maghami. So the game opened with c4, we have c6, and it's soon transposed into a Slav. So here knight f6 played, e3, bishop to f5, pretty normal moves, knight c3, and e6. So here Maghami played knight to h4, trying to win the bishop pair. We have bishop to e4 and f3. So note that if knight takes e4, then after d takes, here black is threatening to win the knight with g5. So white would have to play something like g3 to give the knight room on g2. But after bishop b4 check, bishop blocks, queen a5, a3, bishop takes, pieces are traded off, and after king takes d2, white didn't get anything out of the opening. So instead of going knight takes e4, here f3 from Maghami, and the bishop retreats back to g6. So here queen b3 played, looking at b7, so queen c7 defending, bishop d2, bishop e7, so white is in no rush to take on g6. So in this position, Maghami decided to castle queenside. This is of course an ambitious and double-edged way of playing the position, but this makes sense since you gotta try and beat the lower rated players in the tournament, especially in tournaments like these. Other good and safe options are to play rook c1, bishop e2 is also reasonable, but we have castles queenside in this position. So here Lai takes on c4, asking white how is he going to recapture. So if he takes with the bishop, white didn't play this. I suspect that he didn't like what happens after black goes b5 with bishop e2, then a5, and black is starting to get some initiative against the white king. So here queen takes c4 played. Now b5 from black is impossible because of knight takes b5, the pawn is pinned. So black played a6 and queen b3, anticipating b5. But this sort of sidelines the queen, and white could potentially lose some tempo moving the queen again in response to black's pawn storm on the queen side. So perhaps it was better to play queen to e2, keeping the queen more centralized. White will soon take this light square bishop, and he should be fine in this position. But here queen b3 played, and b5 from black. So now white eliminates this bishop, and e4. So here black played c5, trying to open up the c file, also looking at white's center. So white can take on c5, this is possible. But black's play becomes very direct after knight b to d7, followed by taking here on c5 with tempo on the queen, and black is just going to play against white's king by storming these pawns down the board. So here white played the move d5, allowing black to push c4, and after queen c2, now these pawns on the queen side look rather menacing for black. So one of the things white has going for him in this position is his strong center. So maybe black could consider playing e takes d5. And after e takes d5, now black has another target on d5. But perhaps Lai wasn't too keen in playing this because now if black castles on the king's side, he could potentially be attacked. So in this position, after queen to c2, Lai decides to play e5, trying to close down the center. White went g4, bishop d6. With white starting to expand on the king side, black now wants to keep this king in the center. Maybe on f8, maybe on e7. And with the bishop on d6, this blockades the pawn and keeps the king relatively safe. So white plays h4, we have knight b to d7, king to b1, and here knight to c5, joining in the attack. Bishop e3. This gives white the option of eliminating the knight if necessary, and also this opens up the second rank so white has defensive resources like rook to h2. Black played rook to b8, threatening b4 and c3, so white anticipates that with knight to e2. King to e7 from black and bishop to g5. Another possible and interesting idea is knight to g3, trying to support h5 to create some weaknesses in black's pawns. So here, if black continues on with a5, then here white would play h5. So if black takes, then this allows the knight to jump in. So let's say black continues on with the attack, then rook to h2, so that the queen defends the rook, allowing white to take on g6. Here with a3, then you can take on h8, and after b3. So at least in this position, white managed to induce some weaknesses in black's pawns. So knight g3 is interesting, but here bishop g5 played, which is also fine, pinning this knight, with intentions of going h5 as well. Now black lines up all his pieces on the queen side, rook h to c8. White continues on with h5, and we have queen to a5 now. So you can see that black is lining up the rook with the queen, and he is getting ready to push b4 and c3. So if black manages to push b4, then taking on c4 with the queen would be quite dangerous, because knight to a4, and this could be quite deadly for white. So in this position, white should have played the move knight to c1, just giving more protection to the king, also opening up this bishop's attack on c4, making b4 more difficult for black, also opening up the second rank, enabling rook to h2. But in this position, after queen to a5, white made the crucial error and he went bishop to d2, which was a mistake because black was going to play b4 anyway in this position. Now c3 is a very big threat, and at this point white's position just completely went downhill. He doesn't have many decent options in this position. Queen takes c4 just runs into knight a4. If queen b3, then rook c3 is simply crushing. Black is going to win the queen, and black's attack on the king is going to continue. So after b4, white went g5, but black simply took on h5, and we have bishop to h3, attacking the rook. Lai played rook to c7, keeping the rook in line with the queen so that the tactics will work in his favor. So now white played queen takes c4, and you can't really criticize this move because, well, white doesn't have many good options here. So knight to a4 here, queen to b3, and the tactics we discussed earlier, rook to c3. So note that if queen to d3, then here black also has very nice tactics, knight to c3. If that's taken, this is with check, then king a1, rook to b2, threatening mate, so knight takes c3, defending, but here rook takes c3, removes the defender of a2. So going back to the game, knight a4, queen to b3, rook c3, so that was taken. Queen takes b8, bishop takes b8, knight takes c3. So white has two rooks for the queen in this position. But with such an exposed king, this is practically over for white. Here queen b4 check, played, king c2, queen b2 check, And it was in this position that Ghaem Maghami resigned the game. King d3 is the only move, but here knight f4 check. If king to e3, queen b6, this is mate. And if king to c4, knight b6, king c5, bishop d6 check. And here knight c4, and there's no stopping knight to a5 mate. If rook b1, you can just play knight to a5. So the last try after knight f4 is to play bishop takes, but here simply queen takes c3, king to e2, e takes f4, and the attack continues. So a very nice game from the Malaysian youngster, and it will be interesting to see how he continues to perform in this tournament. So as usual, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you soon.